All right, here we go. Let's start it up. It's episode 101. I've got questions with Jeremy Jigger. I am Jeremy Jigger. I am your host, I guess I would say. Um, you are here. So if you're here, then I'm entertaining you, right? So I'm your host. Um, I started this because pretty much I think I, like most of the people who live on this planet, I have a lot of questions about what's going on, what's being allowed, um, and what people are missing, when we talk about our health and what's going on in this world. Um, there's a lot of things that are right now the focus of a lot of people's minds, and when you really think about it, you have like Afghanistan, where we have thousands upon thousands of people who are either Americans or they've helped America in some way and that are being left behind because of a terrible war that should have never started or even been in Afghanistan or started, period, right? Um, we have this litany of homophobia in the black community, which is just disgusting when you think about the fact that in America we're only about 13% or less of the population, and we're still choosing division upon ourselves rather than cohesion. There's just a lot of things going on. I mean, coronavirus, right? I mean, I'm going to be doing like more episodes where I talk about one topic, and then there'll be like free flowing episodes like this one. But you talk about like coronavirus and what's going on and how there's this war on people, or war between people, I should say. And it's really ridiculous how we as Americans are fighting each other as the government just sits back and lets us and knows that it fucked up. And there was a president that just was in office, President Trump, who knew about the coronavirus on January 3rd. A memo was placed on his desk. He did nothing about it for about 2 months, I think. Like I said, I'm gonna be talking about this more in depth. I think about March is when he finally said something about it, but where he called it a hoax. Then he went on to say that it'd be gone by summer, so I guess he acknowledged that it was real. So once you acknowledge that, it's available or that it's real, I guess, um, then he starts promoting his own little vaccine. And it's like, wait, this is crazy. Like, this man has done not only a 360, but a backflip on his thoughts on what was going on with COVID. Then, of course, he lost an election. Then, of course, he insurrected people to join him in Washington on January 6th and attack the capital of this country. You know, as an American, I've never seen my country attacked, and I thought I would never see this country attacked, in that way, like where there were people on the ground in our country, and actually attacking. Like you would think like if they attack, they like attack like a city like New York or something. You would never think that they could get to our capital. You know what I mean? Like that the enemy would get to our capital, America's capital. And that happened. That happened in my lifetime. You know, this man led the coronavirus to become a divisive point amongst us as people. And now there are 800,000 people dead, over 800,000 people dead in America. There's a Delta variant. There's this fight between Americans as some are vaccinated, some are not vaccinated. So, you know, now they have us warring between each other and saying that it's your fault that the coronavirus, how can it only be the unvaccinated people's fault if vaccinated people are getting the coronavirus? I don't understand. You have to tell me why you think that only the unvaccinated are creating this problem. It doesn't make sense. I had a discussion with the doctor, and he really, you know, for one, I'm all for people doing what they choose to do with a vaccine, right? I'm all for one for that. And even when they were starting with this vaccine, they said that they only needed like, I think, 80%, something like that, to take the vaccine so that we'll be okay. You know, that still leaves like 20% of people who don't have to take it. And we're sitting here acting as if there wasn't a whole year where the president didn't have a hand. Well, he didn't have a hand on it, but he didn't have a hand on the coronavirus, and we're acting as if Joe Biden is the only one to think about in this situation. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that there's no one in jail. But like I said, I'll be talking about that at a later point, because I still can't believe that there's no one in jail. Like, even you talk about Andrew Cuomo, you know, who lied about the amount of senior citizens who were dying in those senior homes. How can no one go to jail for that? You know what I mean? Like, it's laughable because it's like, wait, why and what? You are in control. You are the power that be. Oh, that's why. I get it. Because you're the power that be. Right? These are my questions. This is why I've started this. Because I can't figure out what is going on in this country. You know, we had an entire election where we had to get this Hitler type of ruler out, and we did. Thank God, because, you know, I don't know what another 4 years under that man would have been like. You know, I think that I'll tell you this, when he was elected, I cried. I actually didn't watch the election. I waited till the morning to wake up and just, I was like, I can't even fathom this any further. I went to sleep around 8 o'clock that night. And when I woke up, you know, around 5 or 6 in the morning, that's when I found out, and I bawled like a baby. Just because I knew that hate was here. Hate.com was alive and well. And you could say that, you know, that's just being a Trump hater, but it's really not. You know, as a person, I think as a person, I don't think as a Republican or Democrat, because that's just crazy. right to think those ways. You only vote those ways because of the alleged values that they're supposed to give to you. But this is a person who has pushed hate forever, right? But can you believe the amount of people who know this and said, yeah, like, what was it, Howard Dean? Yeah, to to agree, like, Mexicans are rapists and killers. Okay, there are other people who do that in this country right now, and not to say, to placate that or make it a joke, and it's totally not. But to act as if there are no civil Mexicans. You know what I mean? Like, you've met Mexicans. And if you haven't, that's your fault. You know, you know that they aren't, and anyone else that you just say is all one kind of thing, aren't all one kind of thing. You know, at a certain point, you just got to stop. And I feel bad for people who live in places where the internet isn't accessible, and I keep seeing why they keep not allowing the internet in those places. It's just to keep allowing more hate, and it's not just those people. There are people everywhere who are all about hate, and are sick of seeing Black Lives Matter. I'm sick of it. Can you imagine being so into yourself that you don't care what another person feels like? That you could just say, I'm sick of it. Like the people have a choice. There's this YouTube video about how there are gangs in the Los Angeles Police Department and how the government knows about it, how the federal government knows about it, which must mean that, President Biden knows about it. Donald Trump definitely knew about it. He didn't care. For people to not, I don't understand this whole the police are a race kind of thing, to treat them like a race. It's only until it happens in anyone's backyard that they then care about why the police had this persona of shooting before, anything else. I had this person I used to work with who never, I would post things about Black Lives Matter back in the day, before it was 2021 and we're still talking about it. And I used to work with this person who never ever said a word. Like, they would never talk about what I had an issue with. Even if we were talking about things that were going on in the world and I brought up that, it would still kind of be like not an answer, because there's like this protection of you don't talk about cops because they put their lives on the line. And it's true, they do. And I'm a full believer that, they don't get paid enough. They're not trained to deal with mental illnesses or people with mental illnesses, but that's no excuse. And that's no excuse to not start over, to not start over just because we haven't before is ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that we could never ever restart something so that it makes everyone feel good is crazy until it happens in their backyard. This person who, and I'm just free flowing here, I'm just thinking of things that, are still going on in the world, but that I have relative information to or thoughts to. This person had a friend that was killed by a cop in a bar, where the cop actually went out. They had an argument in the bar, and the cop went out and got his gun, came back and shot the guy, which, obviously that's not supposed to happen at all, period. You're not supposed to go and get your gun. I'm a Second Amendment lover. I have lots of things. I'm all about the Second Amendment and all about, people who use it correctly. But this cop went to his car, got his gun, and then came back and shot the guy. You're not, you're never supposed to do that. You're not supposed to, and that's the thing with guns. You're not supposed to have a gun to kill people. I don't know why there's this, but I do know why, but I don't know why. Like, I do know why people think this way. It's because it's all we ever see. The first thing is to pull your gun. If the first thing you can do, is to recognize danger. But the first thing you shouldn't do is shoot, and definitely not shoot to kill. All the time, But in this country, we have this gun thing, and there's a bunch of people who get guns who have never, who see guns as like, a way out, I guess. I don't know, of situations. I don't know what you would call it. What mentally you could say that you would just shoot at people. And in Georgia, there's a huge problem here. I call it the Wild Wild West, being in Georgia, because everyone has a gun in Georgia, and there's just people who the first thing it is to do is to shoot, and it's just, you have to really, I don't know what there's just so much stuff going on where people are upset, no one's happy, and then you could be in a car crash, a mistake, and then someone's pulling their gun on you just because, like, they've had a long fucking day and they're just sick of it. And that's the same with cops, they're not paying enough. They're not giving time off enough. They're not. They're not. And that's a problem. You shouldn't have to work all this overtime and still be thinking that you can have a correct mindset. Maybe if you just paid them more, they would be better. They would be happier. Maybe if they didn't have to work so much, maybe other people would join and be police officers, and you're paying at a great level where people want to help the community, but you're not, because you spend $200 million a year on a war in Afghanistan. I'm sorry, $200 million a day. That's what it was. Like I said, I have questions. I want to know why. Why is that more important than what goes on here in this country? We are like number 30 in education in this country. Are y'all satisfied with that? Are you happy with the fact that we say America's number one, which I believe it is and it can really be, but we are not even the smartest. Why? Because we have the number one military. Look at what happened on January 6th. There were people who just attacked this country out of nowhere. We didn't know that was going to happen. They just did it out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere because, the FBI and all these people said that they saw people back in December kind of getting together and saying, we're going to go here on January 6th. So it didn't happen out of nowhere. People knew about it. I don't know why there wasn't more security. But hey, that's one of the things of why they're trying to figure out what that thing going on, the trial going on, which they didn't make it like a 9/11 commission because they were scared, because there were people who allowed that to go on, and that's the thing with this being here, and there are things that are allowed to go on because people don't make enough money. I feel like we spend more money on war than on the people here in this country, and we allow these companies like Amazon and Google and all these companies to not pay their fair share in taxes, and we're okay with it. We vote in a way that says we're okay with it. How are you making $100,000 a year and you're still broke? You know who you are, because you are broke. There's no one with real money around you. If you're listening to this right now, I definitely don't think. 101 of episode 1, no, you're not making no money. You think you are. Maybe you think like you're just, oh, I'm good. But you should have more. Why shouldn't you have more? You work a lot. You deserve it. But these companies don't pay you more. These companies don't pay us more. How is the minimum wage in Georgia $5.15? You can look that up. I'm going to do it right now, too, just to make sure y'all don't try to say I'm lying. GA minimum wage 2021. Okay. $7.25. Sorry. Wait, no, wait. Here it is. Georgia's minimum wage. Okay, here we go. This is what I always talk about. I thought it changed, but it didn't change. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. Georgia's minimum wage is $5.15 per hour. However, with limited exceptions, which is, no one really pays people $5.15. They usually pay them that $7.25. But you can get away with paying $5.15. That's the issue. And there's a lot of articles you can go and look this up. Georgia state law sets the minimum wage rate at $5.15 per hour. The Federal Fair Labor Standards Act applies, meaning that most employees must earn a minimum wage of $7.25 per hour. But that's that's just what the federal government is saying to Georgia. But Georgia, why is that on paper? Why can't people point to your state and say that, yeah, the minimum wage is $5.15 per hour? Why is it that I'm able to say that in 2021? That's not right. And Georgia's having a boom. even with all the wild, wild west that goes on out here, there are people coming here filming and doing a lot in Georgia because of how cheap they pay people. Let's just be honest. You know, I go to, I used to live in New Jersey, and I've seen no difference. Jersey is the most tax state in the country. I've seen no difference. I can't see the difference. I really, really don't. I mean, if you buy a house, you know you're definitely winning. You know, if you have an apartment, you can get an apartment for cheap, I guess too. But it depends on where. Then it depends on that whole thing with the guns and where you live, right? But if I go to the store, my local store, which is Kroger's, it's not a mom and pop, milk is $3.99. Meat, which I don't eat meat, but I definitely look at what's going on. Meat is still high, $6, $8. When I was fostering a dog, I was buying him meat, so I was definitely picking that up. There's no real change that I've seen, and Georgia's a booming state, and you just gotta wonder what a person like Governor Kemp is really doing. Obviously it's nothing but trying to block people from voting, which to that, I'll say it right here, we're going to definitely be at the booths. So I don't know what you're thinking about. We'll be there with wheelchairs, we'll be there with walkers, we'll be there with canes, we'll be there with buckets of water on our backs, on our wheelchairs, while we're waiting in line. It's going to be a funny time, What is that, 22? It's time to vote again. It's going to be, I shouldn't say a funny time, it's going to be it's going to be funny watching how they scramble these race Republicans, I'll call them, because there's some good Republicans out there. But these Republicans that are still following this race rhetoric with Donald Trump and even right now there's a bunch of Republicans pretending like they care about what's going on in Afghanistan when Trump is the one who vetoed this Taliban leader last year in the deal. I don't know if you know about that or not. You can look it up. I just typed in Trump veto Taliban leader. First thing that comes up in the New York Times. Trump's deal with the Taliban draws fire from his former allies. Let's call him Mohammed. Trump fails to remember the name of Taliban leader, which is when he was letting them out. So it's hard to Republicans live it over Trump's plan to reduce troops in Afghanistan. That was in 20. Look at that. That was in 2020. Republicans live it over Trump's plan to reduce troops in Afghanistan. McConnell says Trump's move will delight U.S. enemies. These are the people who are now saying, Republicans are saying that the troops should stay. I should say that. But they still didn't stop this deal that Trump put up with this Taliban leader, right? And who's now the person who's in charge of the Taliban. They let him out. And now there's Americans over there who are stuck. I feel so bad for those people, especially the people who were just translators, right? Um, they are the ones that are really suffering because they are the ones who the Taliban really wants to eliminate because they were helping the Americans. I just hope that over there, if the Taliban, they apparently said they're going to be doing better. Hey, if they say it, let's just hope for the best, right? Do I think it's going to happen? No, but I hope for the best. You know, I don't think it's going to happen, but I do hope for the best. But listen, I'm going to end this. This is my first, like I said, free flowing episode. I'll probably talk to you in circles, but there's going to be a format. There's going to be a definite format of where I go. But I wanted to get this out that I couldn't do it, or that I was taking too long to do it, because people always told me that I should do something like this or on YouTube or something. And I'm gonna probably get into that anyway, probably on something else. But I didn't do it for a while. Like even like I told you, I'm gonna be doing more episodes where I talk deeper into one subject. I started taking notes on Hurricane Katrina, which is going to be one of my topics that I talk about later in a few episodes. I was watching when the levees broke, and it really just really bothered me. So I definitely want. There's going to be things like that I talk about. Like I said, Afghanistan, coronavirus. That I'm going to do like a one episode talk about only that. Because I do like research. I do like to look up things, and I do like to talk about them because or ponder about them too, because I do have questions about why certain things are the way they are, as we all do. And if you don't, you should. There's a lot of people who say they don't talk about politics, they don't think about politics because that's not their thing. And we're in a different time now. And more and more our rights are being supplemented, let's say. You really must care about what goes on with the other side, like I brought up with the anti-vax thing, vaxxers versus anti-vaxxers, you gotta start looking at what people are saying, because you may not think that one thing will affect the rest of the world or the rest of the order of things, but it really can. A mandate on forcing everyone in the country to have, a vaccine is only opening the door to the next thing. But I'm going to talk about those things. I keep hitting at it, right? Hey, this is, if you looked at, NBC Nightly News, it would be the same thing, that we're talking about all these things and we've gotten nowhere. Just a heap more of crap, I'll say. Won't be vulgar on that part as we end. But I hope you are well, do well. Think about the next person. If you can, take a second before you react. We all need to do that. And think about the foster children. I just want to say, if I end up anything on this last note, this first episode, my last few seconds, there's a lot of foster children that need help out there. So uh, think about them and give it a chance.